You won't be joining us. My wife prefers to keep it only her family. You've already done your part by paying." That was the text my son, Nathan, sent me at exactly 2302 hours. Late 2 nights before the family trip I'd been planning, funding, and dreaming about for 3 years. I was sitting right here at the kitchen table. My reading glasses were perched on my nose. The fridge humming was the only sound in the house. I had just finished placing the last of the travel-size sunscreen into those zippered bags I labeled by hand, one for each grandchild. My hands were still sticky from wrapping little souvenir bags with keychains that said Aloha and Grandma loves you. The phone buzzed again. "Nathan, don't take it the wrong way, Mom. It's not personal, it's just simpler this way." I didn't reply. I just stared at that screen until it went dark. Then I put it face down. He didn't call. He didn't even say thank you. He didn't bother with a polite lie. Just a cold, quiet reshuffling of the family. The woman who raised him, who was his whole world, suddenly became, in his words, not part of her family. Now I knew things were changing. It wasn't just the way Linda, my daughter-in-law, would correct me in front of the kids, or the way she'd roll her eyes when I told stories about when James and I first went to Hawaii on our honeymoon. It was the overall distance. I walked over to my desk and opened my laptop. I logged into my bank's travel fund page. The total was exactly $33,625. I had paid it myself. I saved the transaction files. Then I went back to the bank page. I clicked freeze. A small box popped up. "Are you sure you want to pause all linked transactions?" I clicked yes. Another message. "All linked cards will be disabled immediately." Yes. I sat back, closed the laptop, and just took a deep breath. A command decision, you see. Sometimes the right move is the simplest one. I picked up the little souvenir bag I'd made for my youngest grandson. I took out the keychain. Then I unwrapped the others, one by one. For the first time in 3 years, I let myself imagine a different kind of trip. One where I wasn't unwanted, not a burden, not a footnote, but a host. And I smiled. Not from spite, but from something clearer, clarity. It started with a jar. An old mason jar I kept hidden. The dream jar, I called it. Every time I skipped buying something small, vitamins, a movie, new house shoes, I'd put that cash in the jar. It wasn't much at first. $5 here, $12 there, but it grew quietly like hope does. 3 years I saved. I cut the cable. I stopped buying my favorite tea. I tutored students online even when my eyes burned. I wore double socks and turned the heat down. I told friends I couldn't afford lunch. They didn't know I was pouring every dime into that jar. For what? For a memory. For one last beautiful moment as a family. Hawaii wasn't just a place. It was a symbol. James and I went there for our honeymoon. We were 24, broke. We split sandwiches and shared one suitcase. He got sunburnt so badly he wore a bed sheet like a cape. We laughed more than we ever would again. After he died, I promised myself I'd take the family there. I'd let the grandkids see what he saw. Let Nathan feel the sand his father once walked. Maybe it would reconnect us. I planned everything. The villa for all 9 of us. The t-shirts that said family is forever. I chose the beachfront house with a fire pit. I imagined us sitting around it, lighting candles, each of us saying a word to describe James. I'd bring his photo, the one where he's laughing, head thrown back. I imagined being seen, being thanked, being held. None of that happened because somewhere along the way I stopped being part of the picture. And I mean literally. I noticed it slowly. Fewer group photos. At Thanksgiving, Linda would say, "Let's do one of just the kids." Then, "Let's do one with just our family unit." By the time they were done, there wasn't time for one with me. At Christmas, they all wore matching red sweaters. Mine was blue. I wasn't even told there was a plan. Nathan would just brush it off. "Oh, you're not into that stuff, Mom." But I was. I just wasn't asked. Linda took over the birthdays. Everything was hosted at her mother's place. I was invited, but I felt like a guest. I remember one time Linda told someone, "Nathan's mom is here too." As if I'd simply wandered in uninvited. And always she smiled like she didn't mean harm. But harm doesn't always come with raised voices. Sometimes it comes with exclusion, with omission, with being the one left out of every photo, every story, every seat at the table. But still, I planned. I held on because this trip was going to bring us back together. Because once we were all under that Hawaiian sky, with waves whispering against the shore and children squealing in the sand, maybe love would be enough to remind them. That was the story I told myself. That was the dream I built out of small, silent sacrifices until that text. That single text that turned a 3-year dream into a 3-second dismissal. You've already done your part by paying. Suddenly, every skipped tea, every cold night, every tutoring hour felt foolish. I hadn't been building a bridge. I'd been building a pedestal, one they never planned to visit. I thought of the lavender candle I'd packed, of the moment I imagined us holding hands by the fire. But the truth hit me like a wave breaking sharp against rock. They didn't want my stories. They didn't want my memories. They just wanted my money. And now that they had it, they wanted me to disappear. That night, I went to the closet and unpacked my bag. I set the candle on the table beside James's photo. Then I sat in the quiet and asked myself something no mother should ever have to ask. When did I become a burden in the family I built? The morning after the text, I woke up earlier than usual. I kept hearing his words in my head. Not even his voice, just the words. Cold, typed, delivered through a screen. You've already done your part by paying. I moved through the house like a ghost, folding the same blanket twice, wiping the counter though it was spotless. The silence clung to me. Later that afternoon, I opened my email to check a grocery receipt, and that's when I saw it. Subject: Final Itinerary, Hawaii Family Passage, sent from the travel agency. I clicked it without thinking. A full breakdown. Flight schedules, villa check-in times, excursions, dinner reservations, rental car pickups. Everything I had worked so hard to organize. I scrolled slowly, eyes scanning for confirmation of what I already suspected. There were 8 names. Nathan, Linda, their 2 kids, Linda's parents, Linda's sister's boyfriend. Not mine, not mom, not Marilyn, not anywhere. 8 plane tickets, 8 boarding passes, 8 guests registered at the villa. I was not one of them. I stared at the screen. Maybe there had been a mistake. Maybe I was under guest 9. Maybe they'd added me separately. But there were no other attachments, no side bookings, no separate confirmation. Just 8. I closed the laptop gently. That evening, Linda called, not Nathan, Linda. Her voice was overly cheerful. "We're just wrapping up packing," she chirped. "I hope everything is set on your end money-wise. I think the final payment hits tomorrow, right?" I didn't answer right away. Then I asked softly, "Is there anything you need me to bring?" A sharp, awkward silence. "Bring," she echoed. "Oh no, you don't need to bring anything," I pushed gently. "Just wondering if I should pack any games for the kids or snacks for the flight. I know sometimes they get motion sick." She cut me off, still smiling but with steel in her voice now. "Marilyn, we've got it all handled. You really don't need to worry. In fact, we were thinking it might be best if you took this trip to rest. Stay home. Focus on you." She didn't say it with malice, but the finality was there. They had planned the whole thing with me excluded, and were now pretending it was for my own good. After the call ended, I stood in my kitchen, staring out the window at the bird bath James had installed 20 years ago. The water was still, not a ripple, just like me, not angry, not shocked, just still. I walked to the closet, pulled down the small fireproof lockbox and opened it. Inside were the documents for the travel fund. The account I created, the account I funded, the account linked to every single booking. I flipped through the forms. There it was in bold letters: account holder, Marilyn Rose Monroe. Authorized users, none. I sat down and opened my banking app. Travel fund, $21,763.84 remaining. Status active. Linked card 6. Primary billing owner me. That's when I started thinking about how easily they had erased me. How confidently. How they had spent my generosity like it was their right and discarded my presence like it was a burden. I was never meant to go. They just needed the money. It had never been our vacation. It was a transaction, and I had been the bank. But the thing about banks is they can close. I didn't make any decisions that night. Instead, I turned off the phone, made a cup of peppermint tea, and sat with it. I let myself feel it fully. Not just the insult, but the clarity. They did not forget me. They omitted me. And worse, they assumed I would be too passive, too old, too grateful for crumbs to notice. They thought I'd stay in the shadows and smile anyway. They forgot who raised them. I closed the app, and for the first time in months, I slept through the night. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone to announce what I'd discovered. No dramatic phone calls. I simply made tea, sat in the chair James used to call the lookout, and stared out the window. The house was still, and in that silence something inside me settled. Not like calm, but like stone. I was no longer confused. I was no longer waiting for an apology. I was planning. I opened the banking application and scrolled to the travel fund section. My name was still at the top. Account owner. I checked the linked cards, 6 in total. All set to auto-draw from the same source, my fund. I clicked the Settings tab. Transaction lock, freeze mode. I hovered over the toggle. A small note read, activate this setting to pause all outgoing charges from this account. Linked cards will be disabled. One click. That was all it would take. I opened another tab for my calendar. I marked the departure day with a red circle. They were scheduled to leave LAX at 10:45 a.m. local time. If they arrived 2 hours early for check-in, that meant I'd want the freeze to begin around 8:15 a.m. sharp. Just as they queued up at the gate, confident everything had been paid for. That would be the moment the cards stopped working, but only if I told them not to, only if I held the silence long enough. Still, I didn't press the button. Not yet. Because once you decide to stop playing the role people assign you, the good mother, the generous grandmother, there's no returning to that mask. And I wanted to be sure. So I gave them one last chance. Just one. I sent a message to Nathan. Simple, soft. Let me know if you'd like any help with the kids' bags or snacks before the trip. I can bring some extra motion sickness bands for Olivia. No reply. An hour passed. 2. I could see the message had been read. Still nothing. No thank you. No acknowledgement. That's when I knew there was no misunderstanding. This wasn't about miscommunication or forgetfulness or Linda's preferences. This was about entitlement. I was the vault and they were cashing out. But not anymore. I returned to the banking app. My finger hovered again. Then without hesitation I clicked. The icon turned blue. The message updated, freeze mode activated. All transactions are now paused. Manual authorization required to resume. Done. I stared at the screen for a moment, letting it sink in. There would be no confirmation email sent to them, no alert, no warning. They would find out the way I found out I wasn't invited, in the most silent, undeniable way possible. I leaned back in my chair, took a sip of tea, and exhaled. It was not revenge. It was reality. A reality they chose, but that did not mean I had to fund it. Over the next 48 hours, I said nothing. When Linda posted a photo of matching beach hats on social media, I didn't comment. When Nathan texted the family group chat a final, ready for takeoff message, I didn't respond. And when my youngest granddaughter sent me a voice note saying, "Grandma, we're going to see sea turtles," I saved it, pressed it to my heart, and said aloud, "I'm sorry, baby, but someone had to teach your parents the value of presents." Then I returned to my laptop and opened a new spreadsheet. This time it wasn't for them, it was for me. I made a list titled, "Those Who Deserve to Be Seen." At the top I wrote, Carol, Beverly, Louise, Frances, Nora, Denise. Each one a woman like me. Overlooked, underestimated, overused. And beneath each name, I began mapping what a vacation could look like. Not for reward, but for restoration. Not out of pity, but out of power. Because if I was going to be the one holding the checkbook, I would decide who was worth the trip. That night I slept with the window open. The wind whispered like a secret finally spoken. They had their bags packed. They had their boarding passes. They thought the only thing left was the flight. But the flight runs on more than fuel. It runs on trust. And they had none left with me. They left for the airport with matching luggage, straw hats, and that soft, smug air people wear when they think everything has gone exactly according to their plan. Linda posted a photo on social media from the backseat of the Uber, her caption reading, "Off to paradise, family only." The last part cut like glass. I saw it while sitting at my kitchen table, sipping coffee from a chipped mug I had owned since before Nathan was born. The same mug he once made me breakfast in bed with when he was 9. I didn't like what I felt, but I did not look away. I watched their story unfold frame by frame. At the airport, at check-in, at the gate. 8 smiles. No seat for me. Then the message came in, "Nathan, hey, getting weird error at check-in. Can you check the travel account real quick?" I didn't reply. 5 minutes passed. Then another. "Nathan, they're saying the card was declined multiple times. You see anything on your end?" Still, I said nothing. Then the calls started. First, one every 10 minutes, then every 5, then back to back. Voicemails followed. "Mom, it's me. Just give me a quick call, please. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, but we can't get the rental confirmed. It's saying funds unavailable. Can you look? Mom, please. The kids are freaking out. Just tell me if something happened to the account." I kept the phone face down. The clock read 8:27 a.m. I pictured them standing at the counter, scanning and re-scanning those plastic cards. Linda growing more frantic. Her parents asking questions in low, sharp tones. Nathan sweating, trying to pretend he was still in control. Then came a voicemail with a different tone. A low, urgent whisper. "Mom, I don't know what you did, but if this is because of the text, can we please talk?" No apology, no admission, just an offer to talk now that their plans had fallen apart. And still, I said nothing. The resort called next, not to my phone, but via email. Subject: Booking cancellation request confirmed. Dear Miss Monroe, we have processed the requested cancellation of your villa booking. Due to the account freeze, associated charges have been reversed. As per your authority as the sole account holder, no further action is required. We hope to welcome you in the future. I read it once, then twice, and finally I allowed myself a small, bitter breath of release. They would not be welcomed. Not there, not now. At 10:40 a.m. Nathan texted again. "We're boarding, call me please." But I didn't. They took off without a place to land because money is only a guarantee when backed by trust, and they had broken theirs. By noon, I had over 50 missed calls from Nathan, from Linda, even from her mother. I went for a walk instead. When I returned, the phone had finally stopped ringing. Instead, there was one new message. "Nathan, look, if this was about what we said, maybe we messed up. Okay, I don't know. Things got twisted, but the kids are here. They're excited. We can still fix this. Please just unlock the account. I promise we'll talk everything through when we get back." I stared at the screen. They wanted the vacation and to postpone the apology. They wanted forgiveness without confession. They wanted me to fund their joy while they exiled mine. So no, I did not unlock the account. I did not answer the message. I owed them nothing. Sometimes silence is the only reply strong enough to be heard. The refund arrived 2 days after their flight. It came in small notifications, one by one. First the resort, then the rental car company, the airline taxes and fees, the tour packages, all returned, all reversed, all mine again. My travel fund account, once drained by blind love, was full again. But this time, love would not be blind. This time I would spend it differently, not for appearances. This time I would spend it on those who knew what memory was worth. I opened my notebook and wrote 3 words at the top: the forgotten women. Underneath, I began listing names. Carol, a widow whose children hadn't visited in 5 Christmases. Frances, who still wore her wedding ring. Beverly, who cared for a brother with dementia. Nara, who once told me, "The worst part of old age isn't the pain, it's the invisibility." Lucille, who'd never seen the ocean. And Denise, who had once given me a ride to the clinic when I twisted my ankle and never let me repay her. I made 6 phone calls. Each conversation was the same. Hesitant hellos followed by stunned silence, then disbelief. You want to take me where? Hawaii, dear, for 1 week, no catch. But why me? Because someone should, because you matter. I made the bookings under my own name this time. 1 villa, 6 women, 7 days. I called the travel agent and gave her different names. I asked for separate beds and 1 large table with enough space for all of us to sit together every night. Then I went to the box beneath my bed. I took out the photo of James I had planned to place at the head of our family table. I had the photo enlarged and framed in soft walnut. I packed it carefully in my suitcase. When we arrived at the villa, a place perched above the ocean where the salt air kissed your skin, I walked through the front door and set that photo on the dining table. No one questioned it. No one asked me to move it aside. That night, we sat together. Carol wore a bright scarf and kept refilling everyone's wine. Beverly toasted to finally being somewhere she didn't have to clean. Frances cried when she saw the view from her window. We didn't talk about who forgot us. We talked about who we remembered. And James, my James, watched it all from the center of the table, his smile never fading. Each night we lit 1 candle beside his photo. Each woman said one thing they wished someone had told them when they were 30. I see you. You're allowed to rest. You don't have to earn love. Your story matters. You are not a burden. You are never invisible. On the last night, we walked the shore. The stars were so close it felt like you could reach up and tuck one into your pocket. I looked around at the women beside me, women who had given without asking, loved without limit, endured without applause. I realized something. I hadn't just taken them on vacation. I had brought them home to each other, to themselves, to the reminder that memory, when shared with the right people, becomes more than a flash in time. It becomes legacy. The email arrived 3 days after we returned. I had just come back from a morning walk, the ocean still whispering in my ears. I sat down at my desk, opened my inbox, and there it was. Subject: just want to clear the air from Nathan. I stared at it for a long moment before clicking. Hi, Mom, we're back now. It was, well, not quite what we imagined. A lot went wrong, obviously, and I guess some of that was our fault. I'm not saying everything was handled perfectly. Maybe things could have been communicated better. Linda says, hi, by the way. She was really stressed and didn't mean to exclude you like that. I think maybe she just wanted the trip to feel a certain way. You know how she gets about structure. Anyway, I've been thinking. Maybe we weren't fair. Maybe we messed up, but we're home now and trying to sort through a lot. Honestly, the kids are confused and we're trying to shield them from too much drama. That said, we're in a bit of a bind financially. We had to rebook a bunch of stuff on credit and it's kind of snowballing now. So I just wanted to ask, if you're able, could you maybe consider returning the original deposit we gave for the trip, or even part of it? I know you probably feel hurt, but we're still family. Just let me know. Nathan. I read it once, then again, then a third time. Each time my eyes found their way back to one sentence. If you're able, could you maybe consider returning the original deposit? I leaned back in my chair. They wanted the money back. Not just an apology. They wanted a refund. I thought about the word deposit as if they had contributed to a collective vision, but they hadn't deposited anything but assumption. Assumption that I would pay, that I would remain silent, that I would feel grateful for crumbs. I closed my eyes and pictured the dining table in Hawaii. 6 women laughing. James smiling from the center in his walnut frame. No demands, no expectations, just presence, just peace. Then I thought of Nathan's email, the absence of any real apology, the presence of excuses, and the request for payment. Love without respect is not love at all. I folded the laptop shut. There was nothing I needed to say. If you need to explain why you won't refund betrayal, the person asking never deserved an explanation in the first place. I went to the kitchen. I poured a glass of iced tea and looked out the window. A bird dipped low, brushing past the wind chime James had bought on our 35th anniversary. It sang a note as light as memory, and I smiled. I may not have received a true apology, but I no longer needed one, because I had something better. I had clarity, and I had kept what was mine. Someone who knows, she said. what it's like to give everything and still be left outside the door. I didn't respond. I just held her hand a little tighter. After the candle burned for a while, I stood up and walked down to the edge of the beach. The women followed behind me slowly, barefoot, each carrying a seashell or a ribbon or a single written name tucked in their pocket. We formed a circle in the sand. No ceremony, no script, just silence. And then I said it, not to them, not even to James, but to the part of me that had needed to hear it most. I'm not sad anymore. Because I wasn't. I wasn't angry either. I wasn't waiting for Nathan to call. I wasn't hoping Linda would realize what she'd done. I wasn't holding out for some teary reunion where everyone finally understood how much I had carried. I had stopped carrying it. And for the first time in decades, I felt light. I thought about that email, that pathetic, calculated attempt to turn apology into negotiation. I thought about the years I spent trying to be enough for people who only saw me when they needed something. And I smiled. Not the kind of smile you wear at family gatherings when you're handed a paper plate. No, this was the kind of smile that comes when you realize you were never the problem. You were just giving your best to people who'd already decided it wasn't enough. That's when the words came, quiet as the wind. Kindness breeds entitlement, so I erased that kindness. And now I owe nothing to anyone. Not because I was bitter, but because I was finally free. Free from expectations that had only ever drained me. Free from the weight of false belonging. Free from the performance of motherhood that required constant sacrifice without ever being asked. I stood at the shoreline and let the waves come to me. They wrapped around my ankles and pulled at the sand like they were saying, "Let it go." So I did. I let go of the dream of a family that would hold space for me. I let go of the quiet, endless reaching for approval I'd already earned 1,000 times over. And what remained was this: a handful of women, a villa glowing behind us, a husband's smile frozen in a photo, and a heart no longer begging to be seen. I turned back and looked at them, my chosen family, and thought I was never left behind. I simply found the ones who were walking my way. If this story touched something deep in you, if you've ever poured your heart into a family that forgot you, if you've ever been erased and had to write yourself back in, then you understand this truth. This is where silence becomes strength and memory becomes power. We tell the stories no one else dares to. Of mothers discarded, of women who endured, of legacies rebuilt, not with noise but with truth. So, if you believe kindness isn't weakness but wisdom that waits, if you believe that being forgotten isn't the end of your story but the start of a better one, then remember this lesson. Because when true clarity speaks, the world finally listens.